program that was starting to take over the Big South, and now Highpoint is the team to beat, as you mentioned, Noah. And Zach Haynes, fresh off leading them to their first victory in the tournament in program history last year. Now he has arguably his deepest side at his disposal.
Presbyterian with a throw-in on the far side of the pitch. Two teams, as we mentioned, that find themselves separated by just a few points in the early season table in the Big South Conference. Sam, as I mentioned in the open, these two teams, they have provided some fireworks over the last couple of years. Both of those games, though, ending in 0-0 draws. What do you make of that?
Well, we mentioned it off the top. I think Presbyterian out of possession has been so secure defensively. I think some of it is a comment on Highpoint the past couple years when they've met, has still been up and running going forward. But now you have the flip, Noah, a pair of sides who are so lethal going forward, but have had their deficiencies at the back. So it could make for an open affair depending on how the early stages of this one pans out.
Early on, we've already seen several balls played over the top from both of these sides. Highpoint throw-in, first touch for Noah Holmes, coming off an Offensive Player of the Week honor in the Big South Conference. He has 3 goals in his last 2 games. Holmes getting hot in a hurry.
And people forget he got off to a slower start to last season as well in his debut campaign with Highpoint, then turned it on around early October. We're seeing a similar trend now, and look, anytime he's got space in the penalty area, I don't care what form he's in, you need to close him down.
Maybe put a second man on him as well.
I think both center backs, Busby and Menon, will be very attuned to what Holmes is doing.
Good trap by Ramirez on the far side of the pitch, played out. And Highpoint with it early. This is a Highpoint offense that knows how to score the soccer ball. Coming into tonight, 2.2 goals per game scored on the season. Top 14 in the country, Sam. This has been probably one of the better offenses that we have seen from the Panthers in a while.
And we mentioned the depth. Across the front line, they can bring in 3, 4, 5 different bodies off the bench who are also legitimate attacking threats. And you look at the midfield, and that man on the ball, Amaya, lethal in possession.
Touch forward to Holmes, wearing the captain band tonight. Highpoint working it back to their support. Very strategic early on tonight. Long ball played through. Edge of the 18. No whistle. How to play harmlessly. And James D., who got the somewhat of a surprise start tonight, expecting to see B.D. Murray in goal tonight. Here's a look at that ball.
You see Linfelt, the wingback, tracking it. And, yeah, he collides with Busby. No, I think that's a statement from the official. No soft fouls tonight. You're going to see a lot of physicality in this matchup.
It's good for the broadcast, good for the viewers. We want these two teams, two very good teams in the Big South Conference, to be able to play openly this evening.
Especially two teams who have been so free-flowing in possession this year. I think for Presbyterian, in many respects, maybe that benefits them, because if they win the ball back, they can boot it upfield, and they've got space on the counter as well.
So high pressure from Highpoint. Almost forced the turnover. Now they get the turnover. That was Alex Ubrell on the ball. Highpoint has the ability to build up quickly.
They're just so slick in possession, Noah. You see Amaya, he seamlessly transcends between midfield and up front, and he finds runners so effectively in those spaces between the defenders. I'm a huge fan of what he's done over the course of his 2 years, and when you link him up with so many star attacking talents who have all played together for these last couple of seasons, it makes for a very entertaining brand of football.
Well, it makes his job easier as well.
Oh, it definitely does. I mean, imagine you're the number 10. There's so much creative duties placed on your shoulders. You've got forwards just running off the ball and creating space for you to play the ball into. You don't have to force it as much going forward.
Long ball played forward, looking for Anthony Ramirez. Too strong and back to Presbyterian. Presbyterian coming in, as we mentioned, 5-5-1 on the season, but have not had a loss so far in Big South Conference play, 2-0-1. Strong start for this team coming off of, Sam, what you said earlier was the best season in program history. This was a team that picked up 10 wins a season ago.
And they run into Campbell in the Big South semifinals. Of course, Campbell now in the CAA, but that Campbell team was one of the top programs in the nation for large portions of last year. And, of course, Highpoint wound up knocking them off in the final. But anytime you have to go to Bowie's Creek in a postseason environment, that's not conducive to victories, to say the least.
Yeah, I think a lot of Big South teams were very happy to see Campbell, leave this conference because of what you just said, the home field advantage up in Bowie's Creek.
It makes it wide open as well. I mean, if you're Highpoint, you're coming off that Big South championship a year ago, and from your perspective, maybe you feel, okay, there's a lot more winnable results on the table. On the flip side, for Presbyterian and USC Upstate, they're looking at it like, hey, we've got a juggernaut out of this league. We only have one top team to knock off now instead of two.
Certainly making the path to a Big South title a little bit easier. That one out of play off the boot of Busby. Highpoint goes quickly trying to find Holmes, and the center official going to hold it up.
Abreu went too quickly for the officials' liking. Holmes may have been off anyways, so maybe it's a benefit to the Panthers, but...
Long throw to Holmes. Sam, roughly 7 minutes into this game, some early trends that maybe you see developing.
Highpoint settling into possession more, and Presbyterian in matches against favored sides in the past has tended to throw some numbers forward and test that back line early. We've seen momentary spells of that, but ultimately we expected Highpoint to boss possession, and that's what we're seeing so far.
And that was similar when speaking about Presbyterian, what we saw against USC Upstate over the weekend. They go out, they score a goal in the 13th minute, and suddenly they're forcing their opponent to play from behind.
Yeah, and also, I mean, it helps. You score 4 unanswered to take a pretty comfortable
Makes
lead.
life easier.
It definitely does. And I think, actually, that victory says a lot about this Presbyterian side, because that USC Upstate team was 3rd in the Big South a season ago. I'll hold my point.
Opportunity brewing for Hutchinson, and there's a shot. Easy there for Josh Karen, who's getting the start in goal today. It was Nagy who took the shot. Josh Karen, the sophomore out of Palm Harbor, Florida, making his 4th start. 2 of his previous 3 starts, they've been shutouts. He's certainly been good when given opportunities this season for Highpoint.
Pair of 2 save clean sheets, and you can say what you want about the Virginia Tech results, conceding 3 in that contest, but anytime you got to go up to Blacksburg, you face a talented ACC foe, it's your 2nd career start, there will be natural nerves there. So I like what I've seen from Karen, and that's the biggest question mark of this Highpoint side. Who's starting between the sticks on a day-to-day basis?
Feels like that's the biggest question mark for both of these teams right now, seeing some in-season goalkeeper competition as both coaches seek to figure out who's the best piece moving forward.
And when you speak to both coaches, they're high on both options. But for Presbyterian, they lose Leo Stritter to Charlotte. And, of course, for Highpoint, Holden Trent gets drafted to the MLS. So you've got these guys who were stalwarts a season ago vacating, and at the risk of sounding like a poli-sci major, you have a power vacuum in place.
Good boot from James D. His Highpoint back line has been excellent so far this year, giving up just under a goal and a half per game. 14 goals surrendered on the season. Great ball played into the middle, touched forward, trying to connect with Hutchinson.
And you see what Presbyterian's trying to do. These midfielders pouncing on the ball early and then looking for those attacking mids in Rabaravoni and Kalala, because those are your 2 playmakers along with Nagy in the middle of the park.
Highpoint throw-in coming. A lot of early action from both sides. Not much to show for early on, 10 minutes in. Top of the table, potentially on the line in the Big South Conference tonight. Highpoint undefeated, sitting at 9 points. Presbyterian following 2 points behind, currently tied with Winthrop in the table.
And no, we've spoken a lot about how Campbell leaving opens up the field a bit. I think the only team that maybe slightly having mixed emotions about it is Highpoint, because when you look at the way the at-large pool is structured, if you're Highpoint, you need to win a lot of those out-of-conference matches, and they've had some good results there. But you lose an opportunity for a big RPI win when Campbell's off your docket. Of course, also, it makes life a little easier in Big South play.
Yeah, kind of a two-edged sword when it comes to scheduling and the effects of that. Here's a dangerous ball played in. Highpoint maintaining control. This Panther side has tested many defenses so far this year, coming off of a 4-goal performance at Longwood this past weekend. Highpoint looking to build up quickly. Good step from Carson Griffith, who we mentioned in the open. He was going to be a critical piece both offensively and defensively tonight in that Presbyterian midfield.
He's so versatile. His natural position is more of that holding mid, and he's someone who wins the ball back, ventures forward a bit. But he can also play in that attacking midfield trio. I'm a huge fan of his profile.
Why are you a huge fan of the profile there?
Well, whenever you talk about a midfielder, especially a center midfielder, somebody who can get forward and create when told to do so, in addition to defending and being parked in front of the heart of defense, it just allows you to deploy him in a lot of different roles. And now he's back in his natural position, but
long ball in, and a nice play by D. Climbed over his own defender. You don't want those balls to come off loosely inside the 18.
Definitely not. And D, an authoritative claim there.
D, the hometown of Gainesville, Georgia, getting the start tonight. Petey Murray has been the primary starter in goal this season, but as mentioned, in open competition currently for Presbyterian. Chance for some key seasoning for D here this evening.
Somebody who got an appetizer in college soccer life last year, but was definitely the number 2, and they like his skill set. I think Murray brings a bigger physical profile in terms of size, but D's very skilled.
Good movement here. Ignacio outside the 18. Centering ball, and a nice step there by Galloway. That was a dangerous opportunity there for the Panthers.
Ignacio was looking for the cutback, and he might have expected Holmes to be there, but Holmes is still down at the minute.
Hutchinson dispossessed. Big collision. Not a play. It'll be a Panthers throw-in. That was Tanner Rothenberger, the junior out of Charlotte, North Carolina.
Noah, we mentioned it would be physical, didn't we? And we're going to take another look at this, though. This is clever work by Abril, and Ignacio was looking for Holmes, who just got run over by Manon. Yeah, we mentioned physical. The ref has let a lot slide early, and you wonder at what point he decides to control affairs and pulls out the cards. But so far, he has let a lot of play run on.
Are you a fan of that?
I am, because it makes for moments like this.
Tight into the box. D got to it first. A collision with Ramirez. And a goal kick coming for Presbyterian. Good decision-making early on from James D.
As a goalkeeper, it is all about instincts, Noah, and he sees this ball come through. He knows, I got to come off my line. Takes a deflection actually off Ramirez. There is an appeal for a corner here, but if you're D, that's the right decision. Close down the angle and don't let an attacker get on the end of that ball.
Trying to make the most of his opportunity here tonight. A tall order, though, for James D in goal against one of the better scoring offenses in the country. 2 goals a game on the season, as we mentioned. This could be an opportunity. Here's Ubro. Inside the 18, centering ball. That one deflected away, and it was Rude Mannon who got to it first. A battle on the outside in Highpoint, another long throw-in coming.
And early on, you're seeing the tactic on these long throws is to hoof them into the area, and I think part of that is about leveraging maybe the size of some of your forwards, but also it's about testing D. Make the right decision. You haven't been in action the past couple matches. Let's see if you're ready for these type of makeshift set pieces.
Long throw. D bumped, and that'll be a whistle inside the 18. They'll always protect the goalkeepers in those plays, and rightfully so.
Took the words right out of my mouth, Noah, and you're 100% right. Anytime there is contact on the keeper, 90% of the time the whistle is going against the attacker.
You think offensive players like that?
I don't think it's their favorite rule in soccer. I know if I was a forward, I would hate it personally.
Kind of ache into some of the rules in the NFL when it comes to the quarterback position.
Yeah, they protect goalkeepers like they protect quarterbacks in roughing the passer, right?
Got to protect the moneymakers.
I mean, Highpoint knows a little bit about good goalkeepers. We spoke about Holden Trent. I mean, look at what he's done over the course of his 4 or 5 seasons, and now with the Philadelphia Union. It's a program that produces professional players, Noah.
And that's ultimately part of the pitch for both of these programs. You're seeing a lot more people go play, say, MLS Next, getting pro contracts. And a lot of these coaches are saying, no, come get a 4-year degree, and we have a proven track record of still getting people to your ultimate goal.
And Zach Haynes has arguably one of the better sales pitches in all of college soccer there, because you look at the decorated alum network that has played at Highpoint and now professionally as well with a 4-year degree to fall back on. You get the best of both worlds in many respects.
Team still searching for their identity early on in this match.
No, it's moments like these. How does Presbyterian play out of this aggressive high-point press, especially with a center back like Kendall cheating so far upfield? If you can break through, you have space like this.
Looking for Hutchinson on the end of that ball. Too strong. Quickly cleared away. Holmes back to his support. And now Highpoint looking to build up. This is Antwi on the ball. And a misplay on the other side by Ubrell.
Noah, we mentioned the formation off the top for Highpoint. It is traditionally a 3-4-3, and tactically speaking, they're trying to go wide on the wings and stretch this Presbyterian back four a little bit. That'll open up channels for some of your runners like Ignacio and Holmes. It's just about softening up those pockets between defenders when you can space 5 across the formation at times.
Yes. Highpoint content to work out of the back for most of the evening tonight. Sam, what's that telling you?
Well, we mentioned the formation. Anytime you have confident ball-playing center backs, that allows you to launch a lot of attacks from the back line, and that's kind of how they're wired. They want to be able to let their center backs pick out their wide players and allow those guys to make decisions in space. But ultimately, anytime you see center backs settling on the ball, it's a sign of your side is bossing possession and you're confident in your defensive players to launch some of that, so to speak.
Highpoint showing confidence on the ball. Forward now to Ubrell. Outside the 18, centering ball. Dangerous. He had Ramirez in the vicinity, couldn't connect.
Looked like he was trying to switch the play. That ball was a little behind Holmes, and perhaps Ramirez looking to rush into it, but came a beat late, it looked like.
Damian McGregor Wickham set to throw in. First time his name has been mentioned on tonight's broadcast. Started the last 6 games on this back row for Nick Venati's teams. Ubrell has shown the ability to get this ball deep into the box, so certainly a scoring threat off of these throw-ins from that far sideline. Another long throw. McRobb tried to get his head on it.
He's done that a fair few times this season, hasn't he, Noah?
Hey, he certainly makes himself available as a defender to score goals.
Center backs with goal-scoring instincts are some of the more underrated players in football and soccer in general. How about that tackle from McGregor Wickham?
Team's playing good defensively early on tonight. Play on called.
Speaking of things we've seen a lot of tonight.
Baravoni wanted the big switch. Instead, they played direct up the middle. Here's Karen, who'll field it.
First sight of Fabor Christensen. They've gone to 2 forwards now for Presbyterian. They tend to do this off the bench in spurts.
What's that adjustment telling you, given what we've seen early on in this game?
Hutchinson has been a little isolated up front, Noah. And sometimes when you have a lone forward, that tends to happen. You bring a running mate up there, and you've got 2 outlets to play into on the counter.
Makes it more challenging defensively.
Definitely, especially against a back 3 where sometimes you might have your center back caught too far forward. We've seen Kendall especially. So tactically speaking, that is with the intent of creating 2v2s and just allowing your forwards to win those battles.
Just over 20 minutes gone in this first half from Highpoint, North Carolina. These two teams fighting at the top of the table in the Big South Conference early on this season. Highpoint undefeated at 3-0. Presbyterian not far behind, 2-0-1. Still have not lost in Big South Conference play this year. Neither of these teams have. Fabor Christensen giving chase. That one ushered out a play for a goal kick.
We were speaking pre-match about Presbyterian, and I saw them earlier this year at Davidson, and they were impressive those first 15 minutes. They took it right to a very talented Davidson side, and Iragi Kalala had a couple one-on-ones that went pegging. This is a team that is not intimidated by any caliber of opponent.
Could speak to some of the youth on this Presbyterian roster as well. A lot of new faces this year, and sometimes when you have youthfulness on a roster, they're a little bit naive, and they'll just go right after good opponents. Ball played out wide into space. Ramirez tried to cut it back into the box, deflected out, and we'll have our first corner kick of the match.
That's one of the last things you want if you're Presbyterian. You're the star freshman in Ramirez just sliding onto that ball in space in the area, and did well to win inside a corner. Seen a lot of makeshift ones on the long throws, but here's the first real one.
Corner kick coming for Jefferson Amaya, the reigning Big South freshman of the year.
The Panthers, taking the kick, number 4, Jefferson Amaya.
Noah Holmes posted up near the top of the 18. McRobb making a near post run. Got his head on it, and a nice play there by James D. He's so lethal, speaking of McRobb, on those corner kick opportunities.
And this time he baits the defense into the middle and makes that run a little bit short. And they're trying to catch this one sliding off his head, maybe on a flick on. He gets enough of a touch to it, but ultimately D breaks it up before it can reach Kendall's feet.
Presbyterian quickly pushing it up the pitch. A deflection. That was off of Antwi. Your Highpoint right now early on, Sam, you've been frustrated a little bit by this Presbyterian defense. How do you change the calculus?
Well, they've gone wide so much, and I think the Presbyterian holding mids have adapted to that. They're spacing out to bring doubles along the flanks. Try to get Amaya more in that space in the center of the park and let him pick out runners between the defenders here. I think we haven't seen a lot of Jefferson Amaya on the ball, and it's been because of the intention of going wide, but now you see so many blue shirts concentrated along the flanks.
Speaking of Amaya, playing it wide to Kendall. They'll work up the outside again. Ubrill, clean flick, looking inside the 18, couldn't connect with Holmes. Back on the ball. Highpoint, they've held a majority of the possession early on in this game, trying to break through. Long ball played through, out past the end line.
Now, Noah, it also doesn't help if you're Highpoint that Presbyterian's playing a low block, and that means numbers behind the ball, 8, 9, 10 blue shirts just sitting in defense, waiting for you to make a mistake so they can deploy Hutchinson forward and beat you on the counter. It's a pretty clear tactical statement out of possession from Presbyterian. They know they aren't going to win the battle in terms of who has the ball more. Their intent is just to drag this on as long as possible into a 0-0 and then catch you on the break when you make a mistake.
Feels like a sign of respect for this Highpoint offense as well.
It is, and anytime you go up against a top 15 attack, that's going to be the approach, especially on the road.
Hutchinson trying to create space, double-teamed. Dumped back out to Rabaravoni, who's had a big last couple of games. One played out in a corner kick upcoming for Presbyterian.
We mentioned counterattacks, set pieces, huge opportunities to steal one as well.
This is the freshman Rabaravoni out of France. First season in the States after playing club in France. Perhaps an opportunity here for Presbyterian. Back post ball, headed out. Big swing there by Galloway, couldn't connect. Now Presbyterian regroups. A test from Presbyterian, and on that play, Highpoint had the answer to the test.
It looked almost like a routine off the training ground that went a bit awry. They were looking for some sort of half volley on the edge of the area, but you just saw Galloway. Big swing and a big miss.
Here's Jefferson Amaya, the freshman All-American from a season ago. Great ball forward. Highpoint pushing, trying to connect with Holmes. That one shepherded out of play by Ryan Galloway, who's been all over the pitch early on this evening.
He is an all-action fullback. There's no other way to describe him. He tracks back well defensively, and he is unafraid to bomb upfield, especially in transition moments.
Another throw-in opportunity upcoming for Alex Abril, a graduate student out of Maryland. Deep into the box, free header. That one sent over goal by Rothenberger.
We mentioned the long throws, Noah. Here's another great look from Abril. Finds the free header in Rothenberger, but it is so quick to turn on that and keep it down, and ultimately doesn't have the leverage with his neck to be able to do so.
What goes into keeping that ball down on a play like that?
It's where you hit it on your head. He hit that one off the top and tried to skew it. The best thing you can do is hit that off the side of your head and kind of nod it into one of the corners. Now, that is easier said than done, right? Especially on a ball you have to high point like that.
No pun intended right there, right?
None intended, but if you want me to go into my bag of tricks, I can.
We'll have to see how the first half finishes.
I think it'll take a couple goals before we do that, right?
Zach Haynes has to be pleased with his team's early play. I think offensively, though, this Highpoint team feels a bit lacking early on.
It's just the cutting edge in the final third, and I think Zach Haynes will be pleased with how they've possessed it, but you just got to play a beat quicker, and they're starting to try to cut inside more and carve out some real estate there, because ultimately you have some space in the center of the park, and the geography of the pitch opens up. The defense doesn't get to cheat over as much. Just small matters such as that.
Hutchinson tried to play it in. Now back to Griffith. Left-footed ball. Flick on. In trouble. Highpoint. There's McRobb, the captain. Send that one out of danger. Presbyterians had a couple of nice opportunities over the last 5 or so minutes of this match.
It's half chances, but that's all you need, right? Small moment to pop up. Kalala just does well to flick it into the corridor of uncertainty and takes one more touch for that to trouble Karen.
Maya's pass taken away. Presbyterian's so quick at building up after the turnovers.
And that's going to be the MO. You win the ball back, try to force it to your forwards in space, and the further you win the ball upfield, the better. They won't press much, but there will be spare moments when they do, and that's when they'll try to hit you.
A tactical battle taking place between these two sides early on this evening. Oh, great ball here. Here's Galloway trying to get on the end of it. Sent it in, and a nice play there by Josh Karen. Easy for the sophomore goalkeeper.
Noah, this is so well done by Iraqi Kalala. The great back heel. He was looking for Fabor Christensen, and ultimately, if not for the intervention by McRobb, you'll see Karen called in action there.
They've had some dangerous opportunities early on in this match. There's one shot to show for. Goal kick upcoming now for Presbyterian. And these two teams, the last two times they have met, they've been 0-0 games. What tends to make these games so close?
Well, out of possession, you see the security Presbyterian has brought year by year, and it is so hard to break a team down when they concentrate 10, 9, 8 players behind the ball. And also its familiarity. These two teams have met regularly over the course of the last decade plus.
Hutchinson trying to get on the ball. And that's going to be a handball there from Karen. He was outside the 18.
You know, Noah, I'm very surprised to not see the official go into his book here.
Certainly could have been warranted.
I think it's incidental. I don't think Karen intends to hit this with his hand. Yeah, it comes off his knee. So that's what bails him out on the card front, but now sets up a great-looking free kick opportunity.
Presbyterian, a couple of bodies over the ball. You see Carson Griffith, 10 in blue there. Sandro Rabaravoni wearing 12 in blue this evening. 4-man wall. Karen directing traffic. Fabor Christensen position deep. Rabaravoni goes to goal. And Karen standing on his head.
Definitely. And that comes right at him. But Rabaravoni did really well to disguise it like a delivery. He looks like he's going to play this in for a second and then just lashes at it. It's got good whip. And ultimately, it's right at Karen, I think, to the relief of the Highpoint supporters.
Tony Panetta in for Highpoint. Ubrill out. Just the second substitution of the match for Zach Haynes' side. We saw Kruger in earlier. Presbyterian, they've been the more aggressive side over the last 5 to 10 minutes. If you're Highpoint, Sam, how do you change that?
I think you just need to settle back into your possession game, perhaps getting a little impatient, just given the fact that they haven't been able to break them down much. Oh, this
Great
is a
run
good
there.
ball.
There's Panetta just into the game. Trying to maintain possession. Panetta centering ball. Back to Panetta now. And a shot from distance. That one deflected. That one off the boot of Amaya.
So this is more like what Highpoint wants to see the game unfold. You're settling in possession. You've got options in the middle of the park, and now it's about getting Amaya more on the ball. That's been a clear intent of the Panthers these last 10 minutes or so.
Highpoint, plenty of possession. The last couple of moments, can they turn it into something? Ball played towards the corner flag. Deflected out. It'll be a throw-in from the far sideline. This is Linfelt set to throw it in. McRobb will play it into the box, and it's Busby who sends it up the pitch and out of play.
Unlocking this back line, unsurprisingly, has proved to be an adventure for Highpoint. And I think now the question is if you can find a different way going forward to threaten the heart of this back line, because they've tried the switches of play, they've tried the crosses, they've tried the wide cutbacks. Nothing's materialized yet, and that's a testament to how well that back four is defended, and the two in front of them as well, and Griffith and Walker have just been so steady. Organization defensively has been a founding ideal, so to speak, for Nick Finati when you speak to him. You're seeing that on display here.
Early on, it seemed a little bit like a Mr. Beast video when you're trying to find that clear key inside of a pool. They just have not been able to find the key to unlock this Presbyterian defense.
It's a great analogy, Noah. Mr. Beast video, I did not think we'd be talking about in a footy match, but here we are. Haven't won a private jet yet.
Not yet. I couldn't keep my hand on long enough.
Me neither. Me neither. Imagine being Rodashawn, being the last one to lose, right?
Yeah. Tough luck loser. Under 10 minutes to go in this first half from Highpoint, North Carolina. Holmes with an opportunity here. D way off his line. Pushes that one out of play. Nice play by the ball boy.
Gets a nice applause from the crowd as well.
Sam, if you're Highpoint, 10 minutes to go in this first half, what do you want to get out of these final 10 minutes to feel good about this game so far?
Well, ultimately, you're going to concentrate more numbers forward, but the goal here is you don't want to overextend yourself, especially going into halftime. That's when a lot of late goals, when teams switch off, tend to occur. And the last thing you want is to throw 8-9 bodies forward and then get caught on the counter right before the break and go into the half feeling really down. So I think they will definitely let their attackers roam free a bit more, and there will be a little more interplay here, but you're not going to see the center backs cheat up too much because they don't want to go a goal down into the half.
Same question for Presbyterian.
I think you're content with how things have gone in terms of scoreline. Coming in, you would take a draw against this Highpoint side. But you may see them break a little quicker if they win the ball back in a fortuitous position. The stroke of halftime is always very interesting because both teams will get a little more assertive in spurts.
"37th minute here in Highpoint, North Carolina. Oh, dangerous opportunity. D there again off the deflection.
Well, just as we're talking about it, Noah, Pineda has checked in at wing back in place of Abril.
It's been a good decision.
Very good. And he's a winger by trade in many respects, but not tracking back much. He is forcefully trying to bust his way into the heart of that defense and then open up opportunities for himself and his teammates.
That probably went into the math in that decision at this point of the game.
I'm with you, especially given maybe the first half hasn't unfolded as much as you'd like from a goal-scoring perspective. So you let one of your more attack-minded players just wreak havoc on that wing. And Pineda's a proven goal scorer, Noah. He's done it at Highpoint. He's done it at West Virginia. He's done it over the course of all top-tier college soccer ranks.
They didn't tell you there was going to be math on tonight's broadcast, did they?
They did not. And I was not a math major in college, so, I'm adapting on the fly here.
Again, Pineda with a nice run. The ball from Kendall didn't connect. Tabor Christensen providing a lot of pressure high up the pitch. Presbyterian with a couple of good early looks in this game. Nothing to show for it. Highpoint dominating possession over the last 10 to 15 minutes.
What Presbyterian does so well is they neutralize the numerical disadvantages.
Here's Rabaravoni. Took the shot. Deflected out. Here's Amaya, tried to shield. He'll draw the foul.
And what I mean by that, Noah, is in a 3-4-3, your wingbacks often are part of the attack. So you've got 5 bodies spaced across the front line when you have the ball a lot of the time. What Presbyterian has done is they've dropped their 2 center mids back a little more to provide that defensive support. And as a result, you don't have as much opportunity for those cutbacks because you can't just spread the back 4 thin.
A lot of tactical decisions early on in this match. Here's a great ball forward. Pineda, he'll be whistled offside. Such a fine line, trying to put yourself right on the edge of that back line for the defense.
And it's just so hard to time as a runner. I like the idea. I mean, Pineda is making that run down the flanks. They would have had numbers as well because it would have been a quick switch transition moment. But ultimately just went a beat early. And look, it's equally hard for the linesman to judge on the fly. There's no VAR here, and candidly, as someone who isn't the biggest fan, I'm kind of glad with that. Liverpool fans would be glad too.
That sounds like a scorned Chelsea fan.
You know, the VAR has drawn its fair share of controversy, and there's a large commentary over how it's officiated and the discussions between officials that has drawn confusion.
Neither dangerous ball played through. That was Brucker applying the pressure. Both teams, you'd have to imagine, would be content to take this game into half tied at this venture point.
See Brucker chasing after this, and good recovery by Manin. He gets to the ball first, and yeah, that's a whistle against the forward.
Manin's done a nice job defensively so far this evening.
So sound, and he's had to slot into that starting role because you've kind of had a revolving door of center backs there alongside
nice
Busby.
Move from Amaya. He's certainly done a nice job of stepping in when called upon, as you were talking about with Manin.
Yeah, Manin just was great at St. Francis Brooklyn and all rookie team selection back in the day. And you see the skill set, which sets him apart.
Athleticism certainly on full display.
Covers ground well.
Highpoint trying to steal a goal here late in the half. This is Ramirez. Dangerously to the top of the 18. Here's Amaya, a strike from distance. That one never had a chance.
A little overhit, but knuckling. And anytime when you're a keeper, you see the ball kind of take that weird top spinny turn, it gives you a bit of pause. I mean, I don't blame him for having a hit. And he does get underneath it too much. And it hooked a little wide. But if I'm a keeper and I see the ball knuckle, I immediately get scared.
Presbyterian committing more numbers forward here late in the half. Oh, great defense there by Lindfeldt. For the most part tonight, Sam, I think it's fair to say that this Highpoint defense has not been challenged.
Not largely, although you see them Presby win the ball upfield here.
Here's Rabaravoni. Centering ball, cleared up the pitch. Now sent back in. Rabaravoni, so much skill. Still with it.
Can you tell he played for Auxerre in France?
And able to create a throw, and that was Lindfeldt again.
Has been a mainstay in that left wing back role over the course of his career and has had to fill in occasionally as an outside center back, but this is a player who balances his attacking and defensive responsibilities so well.
55th career appearance for Cooper Lindfeldt tonight. Under a minute remaining in this first half from Highpoint. Either team acting very assertively at the moment.
Yeah, both teams are content to hold what they have at this stage.
.30 seconds remain in this first half from Highpoint, North Carolina. Two undefeated teams Big South play. Neither been able to create separation here this evening. Baravoni heading that one up the pitch. Now a game of ping pong is broken out.
Head tennis.
7, 6,
One final look. D off his line, had to come up with the save.
0.
What a play there from James D as time expired.
Good run from Kruger, and they get him on the end of it. When it comes to Big South positioning, you don't have to weather the additional 30, and also in midweek matches, you don't have to tire out your entire bench when the bigger conference tilts are on the cards.
I thought it was only 20 more minutes.
It was 20. Excuse me, I'm so used to Champions League measurements. But
no,
yes.
I'm saying only being able to play 20 more minutes. These guys are in shape. That should be easy, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, most of them are probably eating incredibly healthy and running long spells, but
unlike us.
Unlike us, yeah. I can run maybe a mile and then I'll be okay. But these guys are doing much more than that on the pitch.
I struggle to run to the fridge sometimes, so I understand. Presbyterian pushed it up the field early on in this second half. Sam, we talked about it a little bit as we went into the half. Speaking of this Presbyterian team, as we see them build up right here, we'll get to that thought in a moment. That one dangerously sent across, and it will create a corner. What do you need to see from them in the second half?
I think I want a little more direct play when you win the ball back. There were times they won it back in the attacking half. They did not launch it upfield accurately enough to some of their frontline players, and a lot of those counters stalled out. I just need to see a little more clinical play in the rare moments they have it in the final third.
Baravoni set to service. Beautiful ball off the hands of the goalkeeper and sent back out of play. It'll be a goal kick upcoming for Highpoint. Karen doing a nice job on that dangerous ball into the 18.
He does enough to alter the trajectory of this. It's an outswinger from Baravoni, and he gets a touch to it. Ultimately makes it a really difficult attempt from Busby in the end, and look, that's about all you can do in that situation. Highpoint the ball, parry it out of trouble.
Second half just underway from Highpoint, North Carolina. Scoreless as we head into the 48th minute of play. An early whistle here. We saw a physical battle between these two teams in the first half, and a set of officials that chose to let these players play a little bit more than normal.
And I think a lot of the midfielders will appreciate that. There are a fair few attacking players who are used to selling fouls that maybe don't have the benefit of the doubt anymore. But it has made for an interesting affair, and no freebie opportunities for either side, to say the least.
Holmes trying to flick it on. How do you get Noah Holmes involved if you're Highpoint in the second half? He's been held, largely without many touches tonight.
There are a few ways you can do it. I think it starts with you could pull him deeper back to claim and then operate him almost as a fulcrum to open up your wingers. Or, we've spoken a little bit about this as well, let your center midfielders pop up in pockets of space and try to hit him in the channels between those center backs. That one's a little more difficult, though, because when you're playing through the middle, you'll have two center backs parked on Holmes the entire time.
You'd be relying on a guy like Amaya in that situation.
You would. He's probably their best creative piece and plays some of the more accurate passes. I think they've done a good job freeing up Onsui this season and be more of a possession-oriented midfielder, but he's not going to create as much as an Amaya would for you. And no, don't sleep on Kruger either. I think his flexibility to play either out wide or in the center of the park could come into effect if they trot him off the bench.
He had a nice first half back out there after how he played in that first half. You have to imagine Zach Haynes was pleased with his play off the bench.
And one of the top creators in terms of assist from a season ago. He's battled his share of knocks, but I like his game.
Kruger centering a ball now. Panetta, another late substitution in that first half, still on as well. Here's McRobb. Out for Kruger. Unable to settle. Galloway will bring it forward. Long ball looking for Hutchinson, and a nice sliding tackle to push that one out of play.
Confident, composed there, and Ben Wyman, or Weeman it looks like, excuse me.
Number of substitutes in the game for both sides.
It was a good challenge from Veman. He read it well.
So an opportunity here for a long throw in for the Blue Hose. Dangling around in the box, now sent out. Holmes a swing and a miss, but comes up with it. Highpoint pushing numbers in front of the ball. Oh, great ball right here. This is Ignacio. Dangerous opportunity for the Panthers. Ignacio tried to send that one in, wanted the handball. Now a big strike, Amaya, and there's a nice play by James D.
Well, Noah, we've spoken about getting Presbyterian moving a bit defensively. This is a perfect counterattacking moment for Highpoint. They've got the numbers, they've got Presbyterian space, and they just unfortunately are just a beat late on this. It falls to Amaya, who puts a good charge into this, and look, it was dipping. He was required to make the stop, but ultimately that opportunity fizzled when it took the touch off the defender on its way to Ignacio. It allowed the Presbyterian back line to recover.
I don't know about you, but D's been pretty impressive in net tonight for Presbyterian.
He has made his case to be the number one, and he opened the year there. He has hardly put a foot wrong today. I've been pretty impressed by him.
And that's what you want out of someone who's placed into a starting role. You want to see them take advantage of that opportunity. D's done that so far this evening.
I think so much when you talk about goalkeepers, people are obviously going to talk about the snapshot saves, but just being steady is so important and so underrated as you see Holmes win the set piece.
Dangerous opportunity here for a free kick upcoming for Highpoint. Baravoni not appreciative of that call. Holmes going to the turf.
He may feel, given how the first half was officiated, it was slightly soft, but it did look like he got contact on Holmes.
The officials certainly have the prerogative to change their mind throughout the game on how tightly things are called. This is Amaya standing over the ball. He's had a couple of nice charges sent towards goal. Sends another one. Amaya D with an excellent save. This kid's having a night in goal.
Well, we spoke about how steadiness is important. Here's your snapshot save if you're James D. This is so well struck, and it at least forces the insurance palm because that was dipping. You don't know if maybe that clatters off the crossbar. Great save from D.
Highpoint looking dangerous. McRobb nearly got on the end of it. Here's the one-timer from Holmes. A great job by Presbyterian to clear their zone after that flurry of action.
No, I think we saw the best 3 chances of the match for Highpoint, all in the span of 2 minutes. And if you're Presbyterian, you had to expect that charge was coming. There was going to be a little more assertiveness out of the break for Highpoint. They've matched it defensively.
What's leading to those better looks right now for the Panthers?
Well, it was one giveaway from Presbyterian, which led to the counterattack. It was a rare mistake in midfield from Presbyterian, but it allowed the numerical advantage. And then from there, the set pieces produced opportunities for Highpoint to continue applying pressure.
And that's what coaching staffs, they want to see from good teams. You want to be positioned mentally that when those opportunities come, no matter at what point of the match, that then you can take advantage.
And it isn't just about winning matches 5-0, because that's not going to happen for even the most elite attacks. You need to be able to break teams down that throw numbers behind the ball. That's what Highpoint is trying to show here tonight.
Think of some of the best in the country at doing that. Teams like Clemson, teams like Marshall, who's currently ranked number 1, that this Highpoint team battled to a 2-1 score early on this year.
Highpoint has regularly scheduled some of those teams and held their own, but yeah, in college soccer, there will be teams who say, we know you can score, try to do it against a top-tier back line.
Oh, great ball. Panetta looking for Holmes. Right back to him. Ignacio dumps into the middle. Kruger took a mighty swing and now cleared away out of danger. Highpoint looking much more dangerous here in the second half.
Much more direct as well. I think in spurts in the first half, they got it wide, but not quickly enough. And as a result, Presbyterian had numbers parked behind the ball. Now you're seeing a much more assertive approach. Let's get it to our wing backs. Let's cut this back in and force this Presbyterian back four to scramble a bit more.
Is that how you beat when they box it in like that? You have to be a little bit more clinical in your passing?
It needs to be that way. It has to be both more clinical in terms of accuracy and directness in terms of doing it at fast pace.
Looking for Holmes, and he'll be flagged off sides.
But you see it again. It's a long ball, just looking for Holmes, and perhaps they were trying to switch the play and get it to Holmes on a cutback. But that's how you're going to break down a low block. You're not going to do it as effectively when there are 6-7 behind the ball. You can with some quick interplay, but it's much easier when you can catch them in a moment where they're forced to throw numbers back and adjust.
Dangerous ball played through for Hutchinson. Karen spins down with the save.
Well, there's your wake-up call if you're Highpoint. It's a simple, direct, long ball. Great weight on it, and a touch or two more, and perhaps Hutchinson is in.
And that's what makes this Presbyterian team so dangerous. They can battle defensively, and then you slack off for one moment, it's that quick through ball.
Definitely, and especially if they win it back in the center of the park or further upfield, there's way less pace required on that ball.
Flicked inside the 18, easy for D. Two undefeated teams in the Big South Conference battling here tonight in Highpoint, North Carolina. And at least in the second half, neither of these teams showing that they want anything less than 3 points here tonight.
For Highpoint, it's been that way all night, but especially since the restart.
Great pass into space for Hutchinson. Presbyterian trying to push numbers forward. And that's just textbook defense.
It is, and Carson Kendall is kind of forced into a makeshift wingback or fullback role in that situation, and defends Hutchinson so well, tracks him into space, and you're seeing what's made him an all-conference defender over the past couple of years.
Can he keep it in play? Yes. Galloway cutting back, ripped one in. No one there.
We spoke about this. There will be moments when Presbyterian tries to boss possession. This is one of those.
Again, served into the 18. Karen will pick it up.
Noah, it's strategic pressing. When you have numbers forward already, it's kind of a repress when you win the ball back. You won't see them throw numbers at Highpoint building from the back regularly, but when they're able to ping it forward and perhaps Highpoint doesn't have supporting outlet options, they will throw blue shirts at you.
Is it fair to say that it's those transitionary moments that, gives Presbyterian the best chance to score against this Highpoint side?
I agree with you, or at least it sets up the best opportunity. Perhaps it doesn't come off the transition, but it comes off the repress following the transition, or maybe the transition yields a set piece.
'59th minute here in Highpoint, North Carolina. Highpoint, they have not lost in their last 7 against Presbyterian. Presbyterian looking for their first win in that stretch. A pair of ties sprinkled in. The series largely been controlled by Highpoint over the last several years. Looking for Ramirez, too strong. And now a whistle.
Well, Noah, I thought, if anything, there's a handball whistle coming, but we won't complain.
Shows what we know.
They're referees and we're not. We've just got headsets.
Good switch of the field there. They got it to Holmes. Now back to Amaya, who's had the best look so far tonight for this Highpoint side. Now the reset. Great ball from McRobb. Down the line for Lindfelt. Just a bit strong.
That has been the story of the match in moments such as that. Really good pass. It just is a little heavily weighted, and Lindfelt can't catch up to it. But a fantastic idea. And if you see Lindfelt keep this in, he has options surging into the penalty area. And that is a moment where Presbyterian is tracking back. There aren't as many numbers there where you can catch them out.
Definitely been impressed with Lindfelt's motor so far this evening.
I would argue he's probably one of the more underappreciated players in the Big South just because of his consistent availability and, like you said, the motor. He's back in defense when they are out of possession, and he's all the way up by the attacking third when they have it, and it comes in a blink.
Under 30 minutes remaining in this match. A physical matchup so far between these two. Both trying to remain undefeated in Big South play this season. That one out of play. It'll be a goal kick for Karen. Alongside Sam Goldfarb, I'm Noah Frary. Anthony Ramirez coming back into this game for Brendan Kruger a few moments ago. Panetta on the ball. Right back with it. Highpoint pushing numbers forward. And a good step there. That was Galloway again. He's been in the right place at the right time a lot tonight.
He needed to be there, too, because that quick 1-2 opened up the ball wide. And if Galloway doesn't make the step, Kaya Ignacio's got acres of space on that far side.
A chance to counter here with McRobb ahead of the ball. Presbyterian throwing numbers forward. This one played through for Walker, and we'll get a whistle on the sideline. And Walker down hard. And we'll get our first booking of the evening.
Textbook yellow here, Noah. You see Veman trying to make up the space. He goes in, studs up, comes in a bit late on the challenge. And look, whenever you catch an attacker with your studs without getting any ball, there will be a yellow show.
Makes it easy for the officials.
Very much so. It was no hesitation, and you saw the ref range right over with the hands in his pocket.
This is Rabaravoni. We've seen him play some nice balls into the box so far this evening. A big moment in this match for Presbyterian, trying to break through against this stingy Panthers defense. Baravoni servicing one. Second chance on the back post, sent away. Right back into the box. And there's Karen. A diving play to keep that one out of net.
Talk about steadiness. Karen has been very sound when called upon. And it is set pieces where Presbyterian has created the most threat. It's ultimately off of the reset from Walker. And a good flick on there from Mannon, and required Karen's attention, at least.
Sam, I don't think it's been talked about enough in tonight's match, the play of Josh Karen, of James D. Both have primarily been the backup keepers this year, getting an opportunity in this match, and they both passed the test so far tonight.
And both really experiencing their first legitimate taste of college soccer. Both were on their respective rosters last year, but Karen a redshirt, Noah, and on the flip side, D played 3-4 matches off the pine. So neither of these guys have been full year number ones, but both have looked very solid. It's a large reason why we're still knotted at 0-0.
Great step there for Galloway as he continues his strong evening. A throw-in coming for Highpoint.
Returning to the Panthers lineup, number 17, Alex Abreu.
Sam, when you look at the current Big South standings that we did at halftime, who does this game need more to right now?
I would say Presbyterian, and the reason is because they're a bit closer to that cut line, and very few teams are going to take a result off Highpoint this year. So if you can go to Vert Stadium, steal a point, maybe even 3, the amount of value relative to the rest of the league's results is incredible, because almost everyone's going to face Highpoint. And like we mentioned, very few, even in the top 4, will steal a result. And
it's critical confidence that you build with a result against a team that's currently at the top of the table.
You say, we just went into Vert, got a draw. Our next match is straight up against Winthrop. I think you'll feel confident. As you see Ignacio there, he just takes the boot from Christensen. Nothing more than a foul, but is a foul.
Here's Antwi on the ball. Back to his support. Rob looking for Linfeld, able to connect this time. Playing it forward, Holmes. And that's good defense right there by Mannon. He's been excellent tonight.
He has. He did just enough to inhibit the progress of Holmes when that ball was played, then wins the foot race to it. The level of agility, physicality, and athleticism it takes is befitting of the top center backs in the conference.
This is Ignacio. Highpoint continuing to probe here with under 25 minutes remaining in this second half. Beeman playing it forward. This is a great turn from Abreu. Back into the game. Alex Abreu, a nice first half for Highpoint.
And the adjustment they've done with him is trying to get him to tuck further inside when he gets on the ball. The intent was to switch the play to Linfeld, but that ball, to get it wide to their wingbacks, has been what's lacked all night, and that's prevented them from setting up some cutbacks or closer tier crosses. That's the difference between a 0-0 and potentially 1 or 2.
Highpoint will switch the point of attack. Neither team able to break through so far. This could be an opportunity. Abreu. Dangerous ball into the box. He was trying to connect with Ramirez. Here's Ignacio. And things settle back in.
That time they get it out wide to Abreu. That's what they're looking for. That cutback on the first or second touch, and it required Busby to get in the way and stab it clear. If he doesn't get a touch to that, you're either seeing Holmes or Ignacio bearing down on goal with a pretty clear-cut opportunity.
Sam, what do you make of the big switches right now, working both sides of the field?
I like it because it forces the back line to get in transition.
Ramirez under pressure. He'll take the shot, and D again. Doesn't give up the rebound with Noah Holmes right in the vicinity.
And that's crucial because Holmes is one of the best pure finishers in the Big South. This is a good ball into the middle. Ramirez does so well to carve out some space for that shot. And like you mentioned, Noah, D pouncing on that and not spilling it is crucial to maintaining the level scoreline.
Are those big switches, back to the point a moment ago, is that's what's leading to more real estate in the center of the pitch right now?
It is, because if the defense is expecting you to try to force it wide, the fullbacks are going to be cheating out that way, and as a result, it sets up those balls kind of back into the half space that you're seeing now.
Bob Orr Christensen going down on that far sideline. Presbyterian throw. Are there a Highpoint throw upcoming? Substitute set to come on for this Highpoint side. It'll be Linfeld, who's worked hard tonight. He's going to get a breather. Would have the ability to come back in this match.
Rolling substitutions in college soccer. Bo Yance is a pretty solid replacement. He's another natural fullback, so that's what we call a like-for-like swap.
And he was a starter earlier on this season from, September 1st to late September. He started 7 consecutive games before guys like Linfeld kind of stepped above him on the depth chart.
And he's played everywhere. Against Davidson in the match that was rained out due to weather at halftime, he was playing center mid. So this kid can play virtually everywhere.
Ignacio trying to feed it through. Here's Holmes, and there's D again. Second chance deflected away. Presbyterian trying to weather the Highpoint storm right now. James D having a heck of a night in goal.
And this is the best chance of the match. It's a perfectly weighted ball into the half space from Ignacio. D, again, the instinct showing here. He sees this ball come through. He says, I need to come out, make myself big, and intervene. That's exactly what he does, and the back line does the rest.
The assertiveness, it's been impressive so far tonight for D.
So often you see young keepers be hesitant. D has been anything but that, and he's hardly made a mistake on that front.
Long throw from Abril. That one sent towards goal. Easy for D. 5 saves tonight for James D in goal. Clearly the right decision for Nick Finati.
He's not the biggest guy on the pitch. He's only 5'11", and it hasn't mattered. He's been excellent, and there's not enough praise I could heap on this performance tonight because he is the biggest reason, in addition to some solid fullback play, why this Presby side is still level.
Dangerous slide there on the edge of the 18. Presbyterian looking to create. Veman and the old swing and a miss.
Got to clear it when you can.
Now a chance for the counter. Forward for Jans, who's just into the game. Two-man game with Ramirez. Nice move into space. Highpoint continuing to probe forward in this second half. You feel like a goal is on the way for this Panthers side, given their play in the second half.
It does feel like they're twisting the screws, so to speak. They're inching closer. The issue has just been they've been unable to find the final ball accurately for the most part, as you see a little 10-on-10 crime. Griffith just with the late challenge on Ramirez.
So this is Amaya over the free kick. About 35 yards out for the freshman All-American a season ago.
Expect him to curl this one right in that corridor of uncertainty, and
he does just that. Looking for McRobb, second chance, that one kept out of goal. More good play from this Presbyterian defense. That one inches away from the go-ahead for the Panthers.
And D may have been shoved into his own net, which would have meant a Presby player basically cleared it off the line.
And now an opportunity building for the Blue Hose. Centering ball deflected away.
Well, Noah, great delivery from Amaya, and I think McRobb gets the flick on. He's looking for a Brill, and ultimately shoved into his own net is D, who just gets the punch on it. And you just see a Brill, his head's in his hands. He's so close to just nodding that home.
It looked like Veman might have gotten in the way of that ball as it went towards goal.
Perhaps it was just a mad dash by everyone in white, trying to do whatever they could to force it in, and it's James D who gets the punch on it.
Number 7, Lorenzo Nagy. Number 16.
So a big opportunity. Neither team able to capitalize. Just over 17 minutes remain in this monstrous clash that will have a lot of postseason implications in the Big South this season. If you're Zach Haynes, you saw him a moment ago on the screen, what do you need to see out of your team in these next 17 minutes?
You just need that final ball to be a tad better. At the risk of sounding cliche, they've switched the play well. They've gotten the ball to some of their key playmakers, but it's been that last pass to Holmes or otherwise, which has either been a little too heavy or perhaps intercepted by a center back. just need that extra touch of precision, especially in a final quarter of an hour when you'll battle more blue shirts behind the ball.
Look here for Presbyterian turned away. And to your point, Sam, at what point, if you're Presbyterian, do you begin to play for the 1 point, the tie?
I think likely in the next 5 minutes or so, you may see them operate as a proper counterattacking team. I think they'll be confident based on the chances they've created when they win it back. But other than set pieces, it just doesn't feel like there's a magical moment for them out of the run of play because of how well the Highpoint backline has recovered out of possession.
Nagy and Hernandez checking back in for Presbyterian. A couple of heavy hitters on offense back into this game.
I was going to say, perhaps Nick Finati disagrees with me because he brought in two of his best playmakers on the ball.
That tackle will elicit a free kick.
And this may be the reason for some of those heavy hitters. Set pieses, delivering key balls in. Maybe you park one on the edge of the area to just have a hit if it pops out.
And you might choose to keep a few more numbers back on these than maybe you would early on in this match.
Likely so. I mean, you see Busby still camping back there, but they're bringing plenty of shirts here. I think set pieces will be maybe when they try to threaten the most, just because it's the most direct opportunity to really trouble Josh Caron and company.
Nagy and Hernandez over the set piece. It'll be Hernandez who centers one into the box. Here's Holmes trying to clear, and Highpoint does. Can they push numbers forward? Trying to do just that. Here's a Brill. And a great slide right there. That was McGregor Wickham.
That's why they had one parked back, Noah. It's the last-ditch intervention, a perfectly timed challenge, and Brill knows it. If he gets beyond him, it's acres of space in an empty penalty area.
Great turn, Ramirez, centering ball. That one off the side of the goal. Another dangerous opportunity there for the Panthers.
But they're getting their creative playmakers in space, and now they've set up a corner. And it's a great run from Ramirez. He wrong foots Galloway, and it's the late touch in the end from McGregor Wickham.
So a corner kick opportunity coming. McRobb gets his head on it. McRobb gives the Panthers the lead. Fifth goal of the season for McRobb, and it comes at a perfect time for the Panthers.
We mentioned him off the top. Your set-piece specialist with a perfect near-post run. And how about the way he heads this across goal? You're going to see it in a moment. Much-needed breakthrough. An elusive finish for the top center back on this Highpoint squad.
Fifth goal of the season for McRobb. He has the team lead. None bigger than that.
It's an outswinger from what looks to be Amaya. McRobb running near post. He's twists this off the side of his head into the far left corner. Unbelievable technique and perfect precision. You can't get much better than that if you're Finn McRobb. And Highpoint finally discovering the elusive breakthrough.
And now you're Presbyterian. You're having to play from behind here with just under 14 minutes to go.
And you're throwing numbers forward. The counter-attacking mindset is out the window. And this is where you potentially play into Highpoint's hands if you overextend yourself going forward.
Huge moment of this game. And Sam, we were talking earlier about the difference between good and great teams. A great team comes through in those big moments. A great player like McRobb built for those moments.
And it is so rare you see teams maintain their composure in matches like this. It is the great teams that find breakthroughs and don't get caught on the break. For so often in this match, Highpoint just felt like they were knocking on the door, but unable to blow the house of cards down. And McRobb just maintaining his composure on the set piece, doing what he does best, heading the ball in.
And it feels like this Highpoint team, they're starting to learn how to win in different ways. Zach Haynes mentioned after they played Longwood that he was proud to see his team continue to play hard even after getting the big lead.
And they're just so good at maintaining their focus. I think it takes a very skilled side to find ways in when you're being frustrated.
Pushed inside the 18, cleared out. Hernandez was in the vicinity, couldn't get to it. Here's Carson Griffith. He hasn't been too involved tonight, speaking of Griffith.
He's been largely in a defensive posture most of the night, and he hasn't been able to really win the ball back upfield like maybe Presbyterian would have hoped in counter-press situations, but that's been more of a testament to the composure of this Highpoint back line, and also Seth Antwi, who's so sound as that midfield pivot man.
Now, if you're Highpoint with the lead here, do you make any changes tactically?
I think maybe you don't send your wingbacks as far forward as perhaps you would have in a 0-0 when you're chasing the 3 points. But otherwise, look, you're building well. You know Presbyterian's going to have to devote more numbers forward. They'll break quick and try to grab a second if they can.
Ignacio creating space. Tried to connect with Holmes, couldn't. And a good step there from Griffith. Presbyterian looking to build forward. Trailing with under 12 minutes to go in this second half of play. Approaching the 80th minute of play here tonight at Highpoint. That Winthrop and Longwood match that we mentioned earlier ending in a 1-1 tie. So currently they've moved into second place in the Big South Conference pending tonight's result.
Well, if you're Highpoint and you wind up victorious, that is a perfect twist of the tail, right? You beat one team that's tied for second, the other drops points. You establish much-needed separation, and look, they're not going to take any matches off, especially with at-large prospects potentially beckoning, but it gives you some comfort.
Galloway continuing to play well here this evening. Feels like Highpoint searching for this second goal to perhaps put this one on ice.
I think that's the MO of Zach Haynes, especially with so much attacking talent sprinkled throughout this side. And the way that man on your screen, Kai Ignacio, is created for some of his counterparts, I think he's thinking, let's grab the second and let's leave no doubt instead of having to park numbers behind and inviting pressure, especially given the presence of a young keeper.
Forward again, looking for Holmes. Here's Ubrill. Trying to create space. Galloway continuing to play well. That one cleared out of play for a corner kick. Our Hercules Tires strong move of the game. It was a few moments ago. It was this goal from Finn McRobb. It broke a 0-0 tie in this match.
And we've mentioned it was frustration for 75 minutes and change, but Finn McRobb coming to the near post, twists it towards the far post. Expert technique here. There is zero chance for James D, especially cheating over, trying to cover the near post. And how about that celebration for Finn McRobb? Well-deserved after 77 minutes of hard work going forward.
Fifth goal of the season for McRobbie leads this team. Centered into the box. Holmes got to it, free. Highpoint can't put it in. D keeping it at 1-0. Presbyterian is able to tie this match. You will look back at that moment there for D.
Keeps him in striking distance. Once again a corner, this time back post. Holmes gets ahead to it. And Ignacio on the follow-up, just doing enough as D to keep it a 1-0 scoreline. And if they fall, it won't be because of his play, because he's been spectacular.
Sam, this Highpoint team so well coached. They always put numbers around the ball in the box.
They do, and I think they're well trained in terms of corner kick schemes, and you just see the mix of different runs they can throw at you. You don't know if they're going near post, far post, and it makes them really tough to read defensively.
Griffith sending away his teammate. He'll take the set piece. Under 8 minutes remain. Perhaps one final good opportunity brewing. Back post ball. Karen will punch it away. Out for a Blue Hose throw. Another keeper with an impressive night.
That was a gamble, but if you take that gamble, you got to make sure you get a hand to it. And Karen does just that. Sees this one cheating in towards his goal. He says, I'm just going to punch this out of trouble, and reads the trajectory perfectly.
Highpoint throw in coming. Just 7 minutes and some change away from picking up their 7th victory of the season and moving to 4-0 in Big South play. They came into the night with 2 points of separation, a chance to make it 4 with a win here tonight after the Winthrop tie earlier this evening.
And also to go 4 from 4 to start your A10 or Big South slate, excuse me. And they've been so solid all year. They've played very well against top-tier foes, and they don't take a night off when they play Big South competition either. They are always up for it.
Presbyterian, do they have one final opportunity left in them? Sam, it's impressive when you talk about this Panther side constantly year in and year out playing with a target on their back. As we see a ball sent in, it'll land harmlessly for Karen, but playing with a target on your back, getting teams' best shots night in and night out, it's not easy to respond in the right way every time.
It is not, and especially in a conference where they feel they should be dominant. You have to come in switched on every single contest, especially given the low margin for error to make the postseason, and that's a testament to the job Zach Haynes has done, bringing in experienced players that fit seamlessly with his side and also mixing in the young talents. It's a good blend of youth and experience and ultimately keeps the 11 fresh, and every match they seem to go out there and they're just ready to roll.
Playing it deep to the corner, looking for Noah Holmes. Battling with Galloway, out for a Presbyterian throw-in. Ben Beeman back into the game. Tanner Rothenberger in as well. A couple of the defensive standouts back in for this Highpoint side as they look to seal their 7th victory of the year.
Perhaps now these are defensive-minded alterations. You see Rothenberger in that center-back role alongside McRobb.
Hutchinson back in as well, in for Nagy.
It's been a frustrating night for 9 and Blue. He's had his spare moments pop up, but we've spoken about the risks of being a lone forward, and unfortunately for him, hasn't quite gotten the service he's required.
85th minute of play here in Highpoint, North Carolina. The Panthers, a 77th minute goal by Finn McRobb to give them the 1-0 advantage. Oh, nice job to keep that one in play. Oh, there's the flag. For a moment, it looked like he had kept it in play.
Razor-thin margins, right?
Games are won and lost by razor-thin margins. I was watching some American football last night between Coastal Carolina and App State, and centimeters deciding that game. Bounding ball into the box. Almost a handball. Here's Christensen. And a great step there. Full team defense at this point. Here's Hutchinson, and easily for Karen.
Well, a good idea there. And they were looking into the heart of the area. Hail Mary ball, back on your football analogy, but it floats a little too much, and Hutchinson, as a result, unable to twist it on target in a way that really troubles Karen. On those crosses, you want them to be a little more laser-like, so you can kind of stab at it and head it home. And that time, it's just a high arcing cross that's really tough for an attacker to head into a danger zone.
Precious seconds ticking off this clock. If you're Presbyterian, how do you change the calculus right now?
I think it's going to be tough. You've got to win the ball back in midfield, and you just have to catch one of your forwards in space. And that's been the biggest challenge. Highpoint's been so secure in possession when it comes to the feet of Antwi or Amaya or Kruger. And as a result, it just hasn't opened up a lot of those key transition moments for Presbyterian.
Baravoni had it, was dispossessed. Here's Ignacio. He's been a spark plug tonight. Tried to feed it through to Holmes, who has never gotten going, but the one thing Noah Holmes has done so well, he's demanded multiple defenders.
Occupying space is key as a forward, and his goal threat has opened up the rest of the field for some of his running mates on the flanks or in the channels.
Hutchinson continuing to battle. Nothing to show for it so far tonight.
Not the day to be a center forward here at Vert Stadium.
Two good defenses. Here's Baravoni trying to create. Looking for Hutchinson, and again, Karen off his line. Sophomore Josh Karen inserted into the starting lineup over Justin Stewart. He's put together a strong performance that Zach Haynes has to be pleased with.
Both these keepers, we've mentioned it throughout the night. No real mistakes from either of them. They've shown great instincts coming off their line in moments where it's warranted, and there you see the diagonal through ball as a goalkeeper. You don't want to let that Hutchinson get on the end of that, so he simply comes and claims it because he knows the margin for error on a ball like that is so low. Very well timed.
You can't be passive in those moments.
You cannot, especially when you know the probability is high you're going to win the foot race to that ball, because it is so tough to play from the heart of midfield diagonally into the path of a forward man.
Under a minute for Presbyterian, trying to find the equalizing goal. It would be hard to recover here if a goal was scored. Holmes will play it downfield. 45 seconds remain. Presbyterian trying to move to 4-0 in Big South play. Will get a handball, and have to imagine the Panthers in no hurry to put this one back in play.
None at all, and when they put it back in play, they're just going to blast this long towards Holmes. If you're Presbyterian, you'll maybe have 10 seconds to do anything. Probably less now that they've sent Karen on it.
Officials demanding a stoppage with 14 seconds to go. The clock will start on his whistle. Little time wasting. Having none of it tonight.
They've been very confident with how they've called the match.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
The Highpoint Panthers will move to 4-0 in Big South Conference play. Zach Haynes' team continues to put the target on their back and deliver.